All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sarah Centrella show. And I'm so excited. Those of you who have been following me for a while already know Anniston, I'm sure, because you were on my show, Anniston, and I've been on yours. But I'm really excited for this conversation because both of us are doing really exciting things and really purpose-based, powerful things. So everybody, I want you to welcome to the show best-selling author Anniston Blair Radkin. She's also a podcast host of that Anniston Raskin. I can't talk right now. Raskin show, and you have to go listen to it, you guys. I'll share the link here so that you can go ahead and register. But you are a master numerology
Yeah.
expert as well, so I want to just get all into that juiciness. But anyway, welcome to the show, and then we'll dig
Well,
into so much good stuff.
I'm excited to be back. I'm always
I
excited just to be able to
know.
have a conversation with you, Sarah. So I'm glad we can bring everyone along with this because I feel like it's been a long time coming for you and I to catch up. But I have loved
Yes.
watching you over social and all the things that are going on in your world. And so we all oftentimes are like kind of messaging each other back and forth and just
Yes.
keeping updated. And I'm excited to be here and let's dig in.
I know. And I've so loved your friendship. I just want to say first and foremost, because I think in this world that we're in, a lot of times people won't allow someone else to build a relationship with them,
Yeah.
and we had immediate connection when you were on my show before. And of course, everybody loves your husband as well, Rudy Raskins. And so, and he was also on my show and I was on his. And just the energy that both of you bring is so incredible and so beautiful. And both of you have put in effort in like to build our friendship, which I love. And it's a really rare thing. And I'm always telling women, particularly if you meet another woman that you connect with, you have to check in with her. You have to put in
Yeah.
some work. You have to like get to know her because it's a rare thing
Yeah.
and it's an important thing. So I just want to thank you for that. But now let's get into the juiciness because you and I were starting to have this great conversation. And then I was like, okay, we have to hit record. Otherwise, we're going to miss all the good, the good stuff on the show. Because what the fuck was 2025? Can we just, from a numerology standpoint, I don't know about you or all the listeners, but pretty much everyone that I know
Yeah.
has been like, what the fuck? Like this year was, oh, it was for me anyway, it was such a almost like bipolar mix of
Yeah.
some of my biggest lifetime highs, truly, it was some massive joys, some lifetime highs that I've been waiting for decades. Uh, and some of my deepest, darkest lows and shedding, and it just felt like this fucking insane roller coaster where the majority of it did not feel good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what was 25 numerology wise, energetic wise. Was it just me? Was I just
Oh
having a rough
no, no,
go?
no, no. This was collective. This was collective, sister. Okay, so from a numerology perspective, first of all, numerology is just at its core, it's all about the energetic vibration of numbers. We live in an energetic universe. We are all impacted by energy and vibration. And numbers really are the language of the universe. Our universe and our Mother Earth moves in cycles and seasons, and numbers really are the foundational building blocks of it all. Okay. And so your birth date holds great significance. That holds a vibrational energy in your life. It really holds your blueprint. Um, and so, in addition to that, there is something in numerology called universal cycles, as well as personal year cycles. And essentially, these cycles are 9-year cycles. And I want you to imagine that each of these years is like a different theme party. Okay. It's like you still have free will, you're still doing your thing, but your stage looks very different. And it's just, I always say going into a year, it's really important that just as if you were going to a theme party, like what's the theme? What am I dressing as?
Right,
Like,
right.
so you don't rock up and you're like, wow, I really missed the mark on
Came to a
this.
pajama party and it was a black tie.
Exactly. I
That's kind of
can
what I felt like 2025 was. It was a little bit of a pajama party and a black tie at the same time.
Well, and this is why I love this information because for me, I think that so much of our suffering comes from our minds painting a picture that is like the worst case scenario, right? My life is now going down the toilet. Everything is going wrong. I am being punished. I don't know, whatever that is,
Right.
right? and not realizing that, hey, sister, you're in a season. Okay, this too shall pass. This is the opportunity here. So why don't we stop resisting it so much and learn how to play the game better, right? And that's what
Yes.
I
I
like to
love
use
that.
numerology for, right? It's really about how it's a game of perception. How
Right.
are you perceiving this? Can you see the meaning in it? And if you know going into a year, for instance, like in these 9 year cycles, some years it's similar to how like the ocean, some like as the waves are coming in, it's like this force, it's this power. Then it pulls back, it
Right.
recedes. And so as we talk about these years, the 1 year is very much like power and it's going in, and then the 2 year pulls you back. The 3 year, you're going back out in the world, then the 4 year pulls you back. So there's certain years that are going to be more internally focused, more about inner expansion, maybe less like about as a world, we love to celebrate like, yay, external expansion and achievement,
Yeah.
but not every year is about that. Some years are about your relationships. Some
Yeah.
years are about your spirituality. Some years are just about your emotions. Like, I mean, it's across the gamut. And so I find knowing what year you're going into is very, very important. So we have our universal year cycle that follows a cycle, and then we have your personal year cycle,
Okay.
which most people, it's, everyone's falling at different points on that journey. And I can tell you how to calculate that. But ultimately, your personal year energy, you're going to feel the most, but you're also going to feel this universal year energy. And this year was the perfect example of that because it was a 9 year. Okay. So
Okay. Tell us what a nine
universally,
year. Yeah. What is a 9 year? I didn't
end
know
of a
anything about this
cycle.
literally until probably a month ago. I
Oh my
had never
gosh.
heard of this in my whole life. Like, I can't.
I feel like I feel like I've cheated you out of
I
all this
know. I was like, how did
information.
I not know this? But then it helped some of it make sense for me too. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was feeling.
Like,
And it
so
wasn't just me, and it wasn't just like
no.
bad luck, and it wasn't just whatever.
No,
It was
no.
it was bigger than me.
Yeah. So if you think about any kind of a cycle, is this is like it's like tying up loose ends. It's starting to make plans for the next cycle. But in order to do that, you've really like this year is really a kind of a come to Jesus about like, okay, what have I outgrown in
Hmm.
my life? Because who you were in your 1 year or your 2 year or 3 year, or even your 5 year is not who you are today, Sarah. Like,
Yeah.
so the things you've collected along the way, the habits, the mindsets, even like physical things, like this is a year that is really going to highlight and show you what is no longer in alignment with
Mm-hmm.
your
Yeah.
frequency.
Yeah. And it really did. I think probably personally because I was 49 halfway through
Yep.
the year, and then I turned 50, which was really like a closing of a decade,
Yeah.
a shedding of so much, for me personally anyway. It was a letting go of struggle that I've worked on really through the whole decade of my 40s, of identifying that I had it, really recognizing those beliefs, working through them, and truly being able to shed them, and then looking at my 50s as the decade of like a reinvention
Yeah.
and a total rebirth of who I'm supposed to be now that I can like kind of let that go. But then all the other kind of just life components, like huge life things and collective things that I think happened in this last year, I just felt that so, so strongly, especially, on my trip. I was like, this trip is for that purpose,
Yeah.
and so every day I woke up and just said to the universe, like, what are you teaching me today? And overwhelmingly the message was surrender
Yes.
and float easy.
And
Like,
just
let
allow.
go of the fight,
Yep.
let go of the struggle, let go of the radical independence,
Yeah.
and just surrender, So it was so interesting that energy was kind of in the universe too, on a bigger scale, which is why it was so mind-blowing to me when it came across my feed. And I was just like, oh my God,
This is
now I get it.
why.
Yeah.
Well, and Chinese astrology, it's the year of the snake, which if you know
Hmm.
snake, the snake is a
Shit.
very
Yeah.
feminine symbol. It's all about transformation and it's about shedding.
Yeah.
And we were
Yeah.
all shedding. We were all being
Yeah.
purged. And I think so. So the themes are, letting go. It's completion. It's what in your life, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, on all levels, like
Mm.
needs to go because The universe like abhors a vacuum, right? So
Yeah.
if you create space, it will be filled,
Mm.
but it will be filled with things that are matched for your frequency now, which is what you teach, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you think about, we all kind of become these like emotional energetic hoarders where we're
Yeah.
like we're just going to stockpile and stockpile and stockpile and stockpile and we're going to take all of these old ways of being, even though that is not reflective at all of who I am right
Right.
now, or
Right.
relationships that just are, you're just kind of keeping on because I don't know, you're afraid of letting go,
Yeah.
and they're not in alignment with well who you
Exactly.
are, and certainly in not where you're
Where you're
going. And
going. Yeah.
that's the bigger thing, because that 9 year can feel very much like you're in the liminal. It's like you're no longer who you used to be, but who you are becoming, and this new chapter has not appeared yet. So
Yes.
all you feel is this scary, scary space of this, like I feel like I'm suspended in midair. I
Mhm.
can't see what's
It's
ahead.
very
I
disorienting.
It's
Very, very scary. Like that's,
super
yeah.
disorienting, but
And
it will teach you to trust and teach you to surrender. My word for this year, because again, I'm a numerologist, so I knew going into this year, I knew, okay, I'm like ready for
yeah.
this. I'm like, this is going to be a year of letting go. But even knowing going in, I mean, it was still challenging for me to trust in that in
Right.
between,
Yeah.
and not to want to just immediately fill it, like fill the space that I've made with things. Like it's like we're like the teenager who wants a rebound relationship, right?
Yep.
Who's like
Yeah.
goes from one boyfriend the next day she's got another boyfriend,
Right.
because
Right.
all of a sudden this space that you've created feels uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
feel this emptiness, like okay, but it will be filled.
And you're so ready for what's next. You're like, hurry up and bring what's next
Yes,
because yeah, because that mid space feels so disorienting.
and
And I
scary.
think for me on a personal level, it was so crazy too because my son graduated college and moved away to the middle of the country. So not even this farthest he's ever been away. Um, 10 days before that, my daughter's graduated high school. Then I turned 50, and on the day of my 50th birthday, my brother died. And then this beautiful, loving relationship that I had had for a year and a half ended like 3 weeks later. So I was just like, what the actual fuck is happening?
It
It
honestly,
was,
it means you've got a big next chapter coming, is what
and
I
that
see.
is what I kept, that was the message I kept downloading. It was like, this is, this was representative of everything that I had been working on in my 40s,
Yeah.
and literally when I turned 40, Hustle Believe Receive came out. That was my first book. And that was a start of a new chapter, an exciting chapter, one that I had worked my whole 30s for, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of beautiful and incredible things happened in the decade of my 40s, but without a doubt, I've known for a long time that I had to shed most of that in order to be who I really have always wanted to be and to be at the level I've always really wanted to be at. And I've always fought that release pretty heavily because it was so tied to my identity.
Yeah.
And this was the year if I just felt it breaking away, and being like, this is happening, and you, all the work that you're doing has to let this go in order for this next decade to be everything you've worked collectively for until now. But it is, it is such a, it's a scary feeling, it
Mhm.
just feels like those earthquake moments, like the ground under you is shaking and you're like, when is this going to be over? Because I really
Yeah.
want it to be over.
But I also want you to think about, 9 is the number of purification as well, and grief. So we
Oh
were
yeah,
never as a
this is the year of
society
grief for
taught
me.
taught about the power of grief, right? And our ancestors knew that grief was a portal. Grief was the
This has
portal to
been
quantum
crazy.
leaps.
Yeah.
And they knew it. And so they would actually reverse engineer opportunities for them to grieve. I mean, they would do the fire and they would dance for 2 days and then they would wail. They would just wail and cry,
Wow.
because what happens is all that water, water carries emotion, it carries trauma, it carries all this stuff that's we don't even know is there. And so sometimes the things that happen in your life, when you actually allow yourself to just
Hmm.
grieve it, like you allow yourself to go there and you feel it. And I mean, I spent a good 3 weeks of my 9 year of this
Yeah.
past year in my bathrobe crying, like
Oh my
literally
God.
just
This was the year of grief. Like you
just
nailed it.
grief
Like I
after
hadn't really
grief.
thought about it, but this was the most grief I've ever experienced in
Yeah.
my whole life by
Yeah.
far, and the most I've ever felt grief. So, and it was tied with losing love at the same time as losing my brother, who was like the man in my kid's life. And, I have a very small world, and he was, kind of a center point to it. And so those two things were very wound together in a way that was just mentally even hard to kind of separate them out. And so I think what it allowed was that intense cleanse almost,
That's what it
because
was.
I could not control it. It was the first time ever in my life where I could not control my emotions. I remember I wrote a post about like I was in a hot yoga class and I was having a great class and I was feeling strong and I was feeling really powerful. And did one move or downward dog or something and just started fucking bawling
Yeah.
like a psycho. Could not control it, could not get it to stop, just pouring, like everyone's sweating, thank God. So like, but and it just kept on happening, kept on just hitting like these waves. And it was such an emotional, but like you said, a cleanse
It's a
that
cleanse.
I do feel like was necessary.
Yeah.
So how do I and how does everybody else kind of look at if this year was a tough year for someone like it was for me, how do we now kind of really make sure that
Navigate.
those chapters are closed? That's kind of
Yeah.
the thing I've been really thinking about. Like, how do I make sure that everything I was supposed to close and release this year, I did
Yeah.
it, you know?
Well, I think that it's interesting because last week we just had this major full moon, and it was the final full moon of the year. It was a super moon, and in our in historically, that was the final new moon or full moon is when our ancestors would get together and they would kind of like look back at the year and kind of harvest the gold, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's really just giving yourself the space, and you might have already done this, but because I know you're a journaler and you're
Yeah.
very like in tune with yourself. But if for those of you listening, if you haven't, I want to encourage you to sit down and really just go month by month through the year. And I want you to think about some of those heightened moments where are maybe the more challenging and some of the good, right? And then just pulling out like who am I now because of that? Who am I
Mhm.
now because of that? What quality do I now have developed in myself? Like, I mean, like for instance, for you, Sarah, you know what you can handle.
Yeah.
That was
And
tough,
it's
man. Like, talk
more
about
than I thought I
resilience.
could. Yeah.
You can think about resilience all you want, be like, I'm going to be resilient,
Mhm.
but you can't think your way there. This is an experiential game we're playing here.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you learn through experience, and now no one can ever take that away from you. You know what you're made of, you know what you can handle,
Yeah.
and you know that you have this ability to persevere and
Yeah.
to reinvent yourself and to keep going, and that there's always still you can feel pain and joy at the same time. You can.
And that was the probably the craziest thing this year taught me because I'd never honestly experienced that. It happened. I mean, the whole month of June was just a bipolar whiplash of those emotions. But I remember the day my brother died, I had to get on a flight to go with my boyfriend at the time to his best friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to tell anyone what was happening because I didn't want to take away from the joy of the event. And it was all people I didn't know. And, so to have literally a height celebration happening at the same time as processing the biggest grief I've ever been through in my life was just, I've never had to hold space for both at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was a mind fuck, to be quite honest, because there's the part that is showing up, trying to be present in the moment for the joy is like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And then the other part is just it was this really crazy thing. So I think you're really right about like how to process it in a way that really helps me make that transition. And for everyone
Hmm.
who's listening too, like what you went through this year, like you said, if you can go back and try to write that story almost for yourself to have it make sense a little bit. And
Yeah.
that journal prompt is so great because it kind of forces you to look at it and say like, okay, how did I grow?
How did
How
I
did I evolve?
grow?
How did I change?
A lot of it is where when we lose someone like that or we go through these experiences, well, we're really oftentimes grieving. And I went through this after I left. So in the very beginning of the year, I wound up leaving my high level corporate position. It was my
Yeah.
choice. I made the choice, and it was a hard choice because I loved the people I worked with. I loved what I'd been doing, but I knew it was time. But a couple weeks go by, and then all of a sudden, I just start grieving, and I'm like, why am I
Yeah.
so sad? And what I realized was like I hadn't given myself the opportunity to grieve my old identity because that's really what like you're
Right. Oh,
grieving
for
your the
sure.
identity of who Sarah is with her brother in her life. You're
Yep.
grieving the identity of who Sarah is with this relationship or whatever because we spend time envisioning a future with these people. We spend time
Absolutely.
like we have memories. So it is yes, there's an absence of a presence of someone, but really what we're grieving when we move through these milestones, whether it be a job, you're moving houses, or you're losing people in your life, is these identities are being shed.
Yeah, and that's a heavy thing. And a job one is huge, especially going from a high level corporate position to an entrepreneur, kind of full-time entrepreneur world. I relate to that so much. It probably took me 3 years. I probably grieved mine for like 3 years to the
Hmm.
point where it took me years as an entrepreneur to tell anyone I was an entrepreneur or what I did. And this is so embarrassing to admit out loud, but literally this trip in Europe was the first time I've ever introduced myself as a coach and an author
What?
to a person ever,
Really?
ever, ever,
Wow.
ever. I could not do it before. And
Interesting.
yeah, it was so crazy. And I thought this is something I know has been a hang up for me. Um, and I'm going to take this opportunity. These are all people I'm never going to meet again. And it's not, I don't know truly what my hang up was other than I always felt uncomfortable with it because I didn't know what other people would immediately assume about me. Like, oh, like she must think she's cool or stupid stuff, right? Like where the hell does this come from? But I think one thing I had to kind of get to was I know what all my friends do for work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why is it not okay for them to know what I do for work? Like, this is crazy. So it was part of, and that was a big kind of block that I had that had obviously affected my business for the 10 years that I've been growing my business. So
Right.
I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to actually move through this block and have that be part of the things that I'm shedding in this last year. But I mean, you're right. For anyone who's made that transition, and I know a lot of people are right now, because this is a crazy corporate job environment. And I know
Yeah.
multiple people who have either on their own decided now's the time to make that transition or didn't have a choice in it. And now's the time.
Yeah.
And
But wait till
that's
next
a big
year.
thing. That's a big
Wait till
thing.
next year. I think we're
Yeah.
going
So
to
let's
see a
talk about
lot of
next year.
that.
So what is the year of one? Please tell us it's better than the year of
Oh, well,
zero.
we're moving from like in Chinese astrology, the one year, the year that we're moving into is the fire horse, right? Which is like,
Okay.
could not be more different than the snake. I mean,
Amazing.
truly,
I'm here
it
for
is
it.
going to be such a stark contrast in energy. The fire horse and the one energy is the great innovator. It's new beginnings. It's
Thank God.
it's like literally someone is handing you a proverbial seed packet and saying, okay, choose wisely. What are you
Hmm.
planting in your garden?
Yeah.
What are you planting for yourself? Because the one year isn't necessarily just if the garden is actually a really good metaphor for the 9 year cycle because oftentimes we're like 1 year, yay, well, I'm going to plant a seed. And then we wait for, we think it's just going to instantly sprout,
Right. You're like, yeah,
which
get the oak tree in year one.
right. You're like, well, probably not.
Yeah.
But that's honestly, that's it's as much as we don't like being in a situation where we're not experiencing instant manifestation all the time,
Right. Right.
that those delays are good in a way. So the one year is really going to ask you like what do you want to create? Like, who
Mhm.
are you? Who are you really? And the
Yeah.
one is not about belonging. The one's about standing out. The one's about being
Like that.
unique, being different, being a
Yeah.
trailblazer, and bringing newness to spaces, to old
Love
spaces.
that. I
And
love that.
so this is not a year that you're gonna want to just like rely on how things have always been done. No.
I
You're
feel that so much, so, so strongly. I've
like
literally,
no
like
more
that has been my focus. It is time to let go of how things have always been done and
and
literally
try a new
reinvent what's
way.
next. Yeah.
Like I spent a lot of my time working with women on helping them like shift their operating system because it's like we have been too long in this very masculine, like crazy operating system of like run, 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 run,
Yeah.
and then we burn out and want to blow it all up,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or we
Yeah.
get sick. Or
Yeah.
we determine we're like, well, it's just not possible to do it all. So then we go back into our little shell. And so it's really about like looking at like you get to reinvent yourself this year. Let's just
Love that.
reinvent,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I'm feeling that energy. So I'm here for it. I'm
I saw
showing
your
up for
photo
it.
shoot. I'm like, she understood the assignment.
Yep, I'm ready. I got my heels on. Let's go.
Let's do this. You're like, new brand and be
Mhm.
unique, be you. Like the one is like I'm a life path one, so I'm like I'm all over this energy. I love this energy, but I will tell you what the challenges that might come up this year. Okay, where do you fear being different?
Okay.
Where do you fear being
So if you
judged?
were trying to not have a spotlight on you, or if you were trying to
Oh
be
yeah.
in the background, or if you were trying to be like, no, I'm not ready. This
Like
is the
yeah,
highlight year. The
this
spotlight's
is
gonna
the
find you.
year. This is the year to like, receive that intuitive idea and then be willing to take a different path.
Mm,
To be a trailblazer, be the first. Be the first to say the thing or to
yeah.
create the thing or don't just take, the person that's like, well, you must do it this way, otherwise you won't succeed. Like bullshit.
Right,
I call
right.
bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
You get to create your own path.
I love
And I think that's what this world needs. I believe that we are ushering in, and we are actually astrologically, like we are ushering in, like there are astrological placements that are happening this year that have never before in human history happened. I mean, this
Cool.
is going to be cray cray. Like I think that we're
Yeah.
going to see some things this year that are going to blow our minds and blow them wide open, right? I
Yeah.
think there's going to be some
And I think
things
it's
that
going to
we
be
have.
positive. I
I
feel like the
yeah.
shift is a positive blow your mind, whereas last year did not feel like a positive blow your
No,
mind.
I think we're going to
Collectively, it really
see
didn't.
new solutions, new ideas for because this is collective energy, right?
Yeah.
Government,
Mm-hmm.
healthcare,
Yep.
environment, education, you name it.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think we're going to
Society.
yep, we're going to start now. It won't all necessarily all like change overnight, but we're going to start to see the beginnings. We're going
The
to
root.
start to see people
Yeah.
step up and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, why don't we try it this way?"
Yeah.
And that's what we need. Like we have to be willing to let go of what has been so we can bring in what will actually serve us today as we are humanity today. So that is like so
Reinvention. I love that.
oh,
Yeah.
reinvention, reinvent
Reinvention. Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
but also the one, again, can fear, okay, well, am I capable of this?
Hmm.
Right? Steve Jobs was a life path one. Okay. So I always like to use him as an example because he had zero interest in bringing in stuff that has already in existence,
Right.
right? He wanted a solution for problems that people didn't even know they had yet, like
Absolutely.
just ideas that came out of nowhere. And so I think that we're going to see the one is also very me focused. It's like all about me. It's a very independent year. So
Okay.
it's going to ask like, where are you codependent and where are you standing on your own 2 feet? But simultaneously, we might see a little
Yeah.
narcissistic behavior this year. Like some people that just, so
Yeah.
you
I took
need
it too
to
far.
feel into, we're going to have to really start feeling into the energy of people and be like, okay, are they in this for themselves
Hmm.
or are they in this for the right reason?
Right.
And you're going to have to feel the truth there. I think the intuition, you guys, like, especially before we get into 2027, which is going to be, I think this is where we move into full intuitive age.
Mm.
You got to start trusting your inner knower. You got to start trusting
Yeah.
yourself. Start now. Do not wait. Do
Yeah.
not
It's such a
do not
big
avoid your emotions. Like pay attention. They're messengers.
I think that's such a key important point. I feel like I've always been pretty intuitive or in touch with my inner voice or whatever the case is. More so, definitely in the last decade when I've learned what the signals were and what they meant and how to follow them and all
Yeah.
of that. But what are some ways that you teach that people can really like pay attention? And because I think we all have so many voices in our head all the time.
Yeah.
Hundreds of like chatterboxes that are tons of them are super unhelpful. And so a lot of times it's really hard to sort like what the fuck is what?
What is what?
Which one should I be listening to and which one is just the one that always keeps me stuck or always makes me make stupid decisions or whatever the case is. How do we know?
Right. Yeah, you have to start to learn. There's a different tone. There's a different energy for the ego voice, the voice of the mind versus the voice of your heart and your soul. And so the quick and easy answer would be like you got to it happens in stillness, it doesn't happen in doing. So
Mm,
I what I see is there's a massive issue around people feeling safe to slow down. But more than that, it's like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have, no, it's an intimacy issue. That's
mm,
an intimacy issue with yourself. You're
mm.
so afraid. that if you actually get still long enough, that you're going to have to be forced to know what you already know. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
where you can't ignore it anymore. And I think that you can't be an intuitive person and get all the benefits of intuition if you're not willing to feel and to be honest about like what is honest for you. And even if you don't do anything with that information, but you're just willing to at least sit in it and honor it and acknowledge it. So I create for me in the mornings, I I've shifted my morning routine because for me,
Mhm.
especially coming out of that corporate job this year, so anyone listening that's like going through this
Yeah.
transition, um, I really noticed that I had a major nervous system regulation issue because I
Mhm.
got out of my job. I had no reason to point to. I mean, thankfully, financially, we were fine. Rudy kept encouraging me just to take a little time, like don't
Yeah.
rush. Like we were blessed in that way. Yet my nervous system, you would have thought I was in a five-alarm fire. Like the way
Right.
I would wake up with this anxiety that
Like,
was
oh my
off the
God,
charts.
what am I going to do? I have to
What
like
am I gonna do?
be successful at the next thing.
And then I would feel like I have to do something. I have to do because who am I without doing anything? And where's my worth? And I mean, there was just so many layers. So I had to completely retune and reprogram my nervous system. And so now in the mornings, I used to just like, I would get up and I would meditate and I would journal. Now the first thing I do is like, what do I need to do to make myself feel safe? So sometimes it's doing
Yeah.
breath work. Sometimes I've started doing some like Qigong movements or yoga, but like
Mhm.
doing things that relax my body and bring my heart rate
Yeah.
back down so that I know that I'm in a clear space because you can't receive any kind of intuitive information if you're gripping. If you're
Yeah.
in fear,
In
fight, or
fear.
flight,
Yeah, fear mode. Yeah.
nope.
It was so interesting to me because I've also noticed definitely the older that I've gotten, the more kind of aware of my intuition is that my body, and you mentioned it a couple minutes ago, like your body will signal. And, either my stomach would tighten or heart racing or throat would tighten or, so my physical body would be like, hey, pay attention. Like
Yes.
this is a moment to pay attention. And then conversely, starting to notice when it was calm, which that's all new for me because like you, I was normally in heightened all the time. And
Yeah.
when I was on this trip, I had this moment where I legit was wondering if I was about to be kidnapped because it was in Morocco because it was just very shady situation where like I was separated from my group and we are in the middle of the desert and these two guys asked me to get in the back of their SUV and not go with the group I'd come with and it was like literally every movie you've ever seen that's like do not get in this car. And in that second, my head was trying to freak my nervous system out and trying to be like, oh my God, you're about to be kidnapped. Like, do not do this, like all of this stuff. But then I was like, well, how do I feel? And
Hmm.
my body was totally calm. My physical gut was totally calm. My heart wasn't racing. I felt safe. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is happening, but maybe it's okay to surrender and go with, and anyone I tell that story to is like, you're insane. You should have never done that. And I'm like, first of all, what are the other options? Be left in the middle of the desert or literally get in a fight with these two guys? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So I think the universe was again just trying to teach me that lesson of like sometimes we fight when we don't need to be fighting. And if we were just listening to our intuition was like, you're fine. And they were actually literally trying to make sure I was more comfortable because there was no seat for me in the other vans that had gone. And so
Yeah.
it's like they were not only, fine. I was not only fine, but they were trying to do the right thing for me and make me comfortable and make me,
Mhm.
feel safe. So I was like, wow, how many times are we fighting the thing that is trying to help us? And if
100%.
we were just listening rather than listening to the noise or that programming and listening to our intuition tells us what to do.
100%. And your intuition is going to tell you the path of least resistance. And it's also going to tell you it's probably going to sound not like you planned. Like it's going to tell
Yeah.
you to do something. Like I will never forget a few months ago, this is an example. I kept getting this intuitive nudge that I needed to reach out to this friend of mine who I know her. She's a speaker, like she's big in the space, but I wouldn't call her like a close friend. And she
Yeah.
had gone through a hard time, like many of us did in our 9 year,
Yeah.
right? And she had lost someone, but I kept seeing her kind of struggling on social media. And so I just kept getting this nudge to reach out. So I reached out And I left her a voice note and I was like, okay, I'm done. I said, I did it. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
leave it. Like, it won't leave me alone.
yeah.
She messages me right back and she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I'm so glad you reached out. And she said, I literally was just having this thought because my friend was meant to be a speaker on a panel
Yeah.
on this event I was doing. And she was like, and I hadn't even thought about replacing her. And then I saw your message come in
Mhm.
and it's like, I just knew it needs to be you. And
Wow.
so
Yeah.
this is where, I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, like, how do I get
Yeah.
on stage? And how do I, I'm like, you have this beautiful internal
Right.
guidance system who is 100% on your team, who is
Yep. Yep.
100% has a vantage point that you do not have.
Yeah.
Trust it. Like, why would you not use that intel that is specifically connected and aligned with your purpose and your path? Like, no one else outside of you, I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's ChatGPT,
Yep.
whatever, no one is connected to your path the way that you are.
So good. So good. And it's so true. You said something so key that I haven't heard in a really long time. It is your path to least resistance.
Yes.
And considering kind of what my, personal thing was my whole life that was kind of cleansing in this last year was the resistance piece of just always being in a fight or flight, always being in like, I have to do it all on my own. All of that. And realizing how hard I was making things on myself that did not need to be hard. And in a moment like that moment in the desert, following my intuition was absolutely the path of least resistance. I could have turned that into a shit show for no freaking reason,
Right.
which an old me might have done just because, like, that's what you're programmed to do in a situation like that. And so I think, like, maybe if you're not sure what those voices are and how to separate them, maybe that would be a good indicator. Like, which one
The
is
voice
showing
of
you
your heart, it
least.
will always be quieter and it's never going to be tainted with fear. Okay? So
Mhm.
like the fear element, that's a really good gauge.
Yeah,
If it's telling you like, well, you need to do this, otherwise you're going to miss out. You're going to
right,
miss your opportunity. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. That is 100% mind. Like
right.
that is the mind. Because your heart knows. Again, this is where we receive. Like your heart has a brain. Your heart has a magnetic field. I mean,
Yeah,
like this is really where your power center is. But we've been taught to lead with the mind, and so we have to reverse engineer that. The mind is meant to be the servant of the heart, not the other way around. And so, what sometimes just taking a few deep breaths, just calming your body, and then dropping in, just putting your hand right on your heart so you can feel it. So you bring
yeah,
your awareness to
love
where
that.
your hand is, and then just like asking a question, like, what does my heart want me to know today? And then just trust. Like you might like trust what comes. An image might come for you, a thought, a feeling, or maybe a few minutes later, a few hours later, you get your answer. Like you just have to
Yeah,
trust
love
it.
that. Oh, I love that. So, what other good things can we expect in the year of one? Tell me all the good
Mm.
things.
You're like, tell me all the
Tell me
good.
all the good things.
Well, okay. So interestingly enough, I just did another podcast on this. I was just on a podcast talking about this very topic, but I didn't mention it. So the year actually adds up to 10 and then it
Yeah.
reduces down to 1. Well, the 10 is actually the number of instant manifestation.
Okay.
So here's what I want to say. I think that if you are in alignment,
Mhm.
right? If you are being true to yourself, and if you are following and you're creating what you know you are born to do, I believe your efforts are going to have more far reaching. I think it'll be easier.
Yeah.
That's my from what I'm seeing and what I'm understanding, like is the momentum piece will be
Yeah.
easier to get
I
into.
feel that. I definitely have felt that.
But if you're out of alignment
Yeah.
and you're still operating on, well, I think I have to do this because that'll make me successful, but that doesn't actually feel you haven't done the work of like of the alignment
Yeah.
piece, then you're not going to catch the current. And you
Yep.
got to be aligned to you can't fake it. You can't
Hmm.
fake it. You're going to get and there's nothing there's not about shame or blame. You're going to get feedback.
Yeah.
And how you feel too. You'll feel it. You'll feel out of sync. You'll feel out of alignment. And it's that truth piece. Your truth has to be your anchor. And when you're in it, the reward of standing in your truth and moving forward and taking action from your truth is greater ease of manifestation, which is your jam. So this is
Yeah,
what
I
you
love
teach.
that. And I also feel the energy of the the seeds that you have planted, even though this is,
Yes.
a new planting as well, but the seeds that you have planted that maybe had not come to fruition or were part of the cleanse or were part of that pivot or whatever you had gone through in this shakeup, that the ones that were meant to be come to be.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
just something that I have definitely been feeling and kind of seeing and just embracing, because I think when we're on this journey and we're being intentional about it, we know there's going to be ups and downs. We know there's, collective energy we don't control. There's a lot of things that we don't control. But I think going in and showing up in our absolute best version of where we're at in that moment
Yeah.
is something that we can control, and being ready to receive. And I will say, to your point of like, you have to be ready to be in alignment for the horse to take off,
Yeah.
this year, and to be on its back and ride with it versus try to catch it.
100%. Do you know
You know?
horses, man?
Yeah,
Horses,
yeah.
number
If you're
one.
trying to catch it, it's dragging you. I don't want
Yeah.
to be dragged this
No.
year. I was dragged last year. I'm good.
Horses are unapologetically like themselves. That's the beautiful
Yep.
thing about horses is they're masters of coherence and emotion. They can sense other people's emotion, but man, they hold their boundaries. They
Mhm.
can be the sweetest horse, but if you walk at
Yep.
them the wrong way or if
Yep.
you
They're
haven't
fucking
like
me.
treated them the right way, forget about it. And
Mhm.
then there's something to be learned for that. And I also want to say one of the thing about this year, and moving in, and this is going to be, I think, perceivably for the rest of, or at least our lifetime. It's your people are your power.
Mm.
Your people and the people you spend the most time with. I know we see these little like quotes and cliches, but no, but really, like
Yeah.
really, really, these people, like people that have a seat at your table that should not have a seat at your table, or that aren't aligned with you, or that don't accept you fully for who you are,
Right.
or that don't encourage you, that when you're in their space, you feel worse than you do when you're not. Like, this is all very important information. And moving forward, too, as an entrepreneur, like the game is collaboration now. It
Yeah.
is no longer the solopreneur who's like,
Hmm.
I'm the singular coach who's
Yeah.
going to be all things to all people. Why? When
Right.
you could just do what you do so well
Yep.
and then find a like-minded aligned people who have their unique superpowers. The sum is greater than its parts, right?
Yeah.
You will quantum leap so much faster if you allow and you expand and you allow yourself, number one, to be supported by other people, and
Yes.
number two, to work to team out. Like astrologically, we are 100% moving. It's team play now. It's team play. And
Wow.
so it is, I think, just getting into that mindset because it's interesting. The one is very about me.
Mhm.
However, what we're innovating is going to have to be a collaborative. Everything is a lot of it's going to be collaboration, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So find your people that
Love
you resonate with, that you could do partnerships with, that you collaborate with. It'll make work so much more fun. It will make you more successful, make you more money, and your impact is going to be so much greater.
that. Ooh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you for all of this wisdom,
You're welcome.
and selfishly for helping me process.
Anytime, Sarah. Anytime.
I adore you, and I really just appreciate the energy that you always show up for all of us, and in my life. And this was everything that I needed to just release and embrace
Good.
as the year starts to come to a close. So everybody, please go follow, go subscribe, and listen to Anniston's podcast, and I'll put the links here. Anything that you are working on right now that you want everyone to know about?
You know what? Like I've got a lot. Well, I'm going into a 1 year, right? And
Oh,
I'm
yes.
actually, my personal year is a 1 year too. So I'm trying a lot of new things next year that I haven't tried before. But one thing I'm really excited about is just getting this work more out to the world. I
Yes.
really truly believe that numerology is not just meant to be like a cool party trick, that it actually really, really can help you as a tool of alignment. And so that you can manage that nervous
Yeah.
system, you can, make sure that you understand the energy you're walking into. So I did create a tool that is it's basically your 2026 energetic alignment tool. It's
Love that.
$22, but
Yeah, I love
it
it.
goes through the universal year. It goes through each personal year and personal month. So you can kind of build
Ooh,
out your energetic strategy for the year.
yeah.
So I'm happy to share that link with you if you want to
I
link
think
it as
that's,
a
yeah,
tool.
I absolutely will. And I think it is really important because when you have information, you're you know kind of how
Yeah.
to bob and weave a little bit better,
Yes.
and I swear had I known what, we just talked about 2025, I think it would have helped me relax into those moments even a little bit more versus still really hanging on and fighting them until the universe was like, listen, you're done. Like it's gone
It's
whether you like it or not.
done.
It's done.
Yeah.
So I think that knowledge is knowledge is power always,
Yeah.
and as long as you're kind of taking it and understanding how to weave it into what you're
Yeah.
doing and taking what serves you, then it can bring more power to you. So I think that's just
Agreed.
awesome. And I will definitely link that in here. Everybody, thank you so much for being here, for supporting, and as always, get out there and hustle and thrive.